There was a man who had a great reputation in his town. He had a good family, nice wife, and 3 children. He was a good man. He was a kind man. He was compassionate, and everybody around town liked him. But this man did not believe in Jesus. He couldn't get it through his head about this incarnation where God became man. Oh, it was okay for his wife and his children to believe that and to go to church, but that was not for him. The Jesus thing just didn't seem to be able to get inside his head. Every year he would go to church with his wife and children, but this year he decided that was just really hypocrisy. So he told his wife, he said, "You take the kids to church on Christmas Eve. I'm just going to stay here because I simply don't believe." And it may be that you're here this morning and you like coming to programs and you like hearing great music, but God becoming man, born in a stable, laid in a manger, I'm not sure I believe that. Well, Christmas Eve came and his wife bundled up the children and they went off to the church just down the road. It was snowing and the man built a fire in his fireplace and put his coffee on the table and pulled out his paper to read. And as he was reading the newspaper, there was a big thump on the big picture window that overlooked the yard in front of his house, and then another thump, and then another thump, and then several thumps. And he thought at first that maybe one of the neighbor kids was playing a joke and throwing some snowballs, and so he got up and he went and looked out the window and he didn't see anything, so he turned on the floodlights and he walked outside, and there were birds. A whole flock of birds in the front yard flopping around in the snow. They had seen the light through that picture window and just smashed into it. The man was a compassionate man, and so he said, "Well, I need to save these birds." And he thought a minute and he goes, "Well, I have a barn back there, and I'll go turn the light on in the barn, and the birds will go in there and they won't freeze." And so he pulled on his coat and he went up to the barn. He opened the door, he turned on the lights, but the birds didn't move. And so he said, "Well, I'll lead them into the barn." And so he went and he tried to get some of the birds and take, but they didn't move. And so he said, "Well, I'll act like a bird." And so he flapped his arms and they didn't move. And so he tried to swoosh the birds into the barn to save them. But every time he got close, they would scatter away from him in fright and terror. And the man thought for a moment and he said, "What's wrong with these silly birds? Don't they know that there's safety, and don't they know that there's life in the barn, and out here they're going to freeze?" And he kept thinking, and he said, "Well, when I think about it, they look at me and I am so much bigger than they are, and I am so much stronger than they are, and I am, to me, I guess to a bird, I am a terrible creature. If only I could become a bird, and then they would follow me to safety. I just need to become a..." Just at that moment, the church bells began to ring. And the man fell down on the snow, on his knees, weeping, because he got it. God had to become a man in order to save man from man's sin. Do you get it this morning? Do you understand that Jesus loved you so much. For God so loved the world, you and me, that he gave his only begotten Son, born of a virgin, laid in a manger, to give up his life on a cross, to shed his blood, that whosoever believeth in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. You see, the story of Christmas is, for unto you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, who is Christ the Lord.